Bills Mafia, what's going on? Happy Tuesday, 2 days before Thanksgiving. The holiday season is upon us. And John and myself are just talking about the AFC and breaking news. The Bills have signed Brandon Cooks. So let me get your initial reaction, John, right off the rip here. What's your thoughts? To the active roster, no less.
Yeah. I mean, at this stage in his career, production is way down. He's not offering a whole lot. Part of that could just be the play that's in New Orleans. Not a whole lot of passing going on. In terms of does he have anything left? I don't really know. He's a speed guy. He's always been a deep threat type guy. Maybe he contributes in the return game. Maybe he at least just provides a bit of a threat on the outside where safeties have to respect it. Like, I think that's the move. I think that's the entire thing, right? Like, going back, we've been talking about it all year. Secondaries don't respect the wide receivers for the Bills at all. They're creeping forward. They're just saying we can just man up and then nothing's going to happen. Well, Cooks at least has the juice and the experience to potentially separate and, enough speed, I think, left in the tank. He's not a 4-2 guy, but enough speed left in the tank where if he gets behind you, he's can create an issue. So it's interesting. I don't know how they're going to deploy him, but, maybe it's to help in the return game. Maybe it's just as an outside guy to try and stretch the field.
Yeah, it's early in the week too, so there's still 5 days until. So I wonder if he's like they signed Hardeman to the active roster during the week, and then he played. So, I mean, this could be a thing too. Like if he does play this week, I think it could be something like they used Hardeman, where they just took a deep shot to say, "Hey, you have to respect that we're going to try, even if it was overthrown and it wasn't completed and it didn't turn into much." But to me, I'm confused with what the Bills are doing at the wide receiver position. I don't have a
so
problem.
Are the Bills.
I don't have a problem with Brandon Beane taking a flyer on a veteran guy with speed, but we don't use the veteran guys with speed that we have now.
Right.
You saw it a little bit against Tampa. They took some deep shots with I think that the miscommunication with Josh and Samuel, he just turned the wrong way. I think that could have been a nice big play. They threw the deep pass to Hardeman. They tried with Elijah Moore, and I feel like you have speedsters on your roster. You have Elijah Moore, you have Curtis Samuel, and I don't feel like they are using them correctly. Now, who knows what's going to happen? And apparently, DeMeco Ryans was just completely surprised. I don't know if anyone's seen that clip. That's it's making its way around Twitter about how DeMeco Ryans said, "Hey, we're used to seeing 7-man fronts because of our pass rush. So when they were deploying 5 offensive linemen and there was nobody there to chip or anything. And then they were running mesh routes, which are routes that take a little bit longer to develop because you're hoping that with a mesh route that when these guys cut across the field, that there's going to be the linebackers are going to run into each other, which is going to create a guy getting open. But the Texans DBs and linebackers were basically running the Bills routes. And that's why it was such atrocious looking offense. So I don't know. We're going to see. It's pretty cool to see how they envision using him. I'm hoping that sometime this week we do get Brandon Beane. I know we get Sean McDermott tomorrow because with the moves like Shaq Lawson and now with bringing in Brandon Cooks, I'm seeing somebody in the comments talking about Christian Wilkins. He's still sitting out there as a free agent. So I don't know if somebody's hearing something or if that's just speculation at this point. But it's cool. I like the move. I like that Beane's not essentially giving up on trying to do what he can with what's available. Brandon Cooks was released by the Saints, and nobody picked him up off waivers, so he became a street free agent, and the Bills signed him. So I guess time will tell. But this show is going to be about the AFC, and talking to John before we came live, it's not going to have a ton of structure to it. I just want to go over the teams, what we've seen so far, trying to figure out maybe even who's the best team in the AFC, who are the best 3 teams in the AFC. What's this going to look like 6 weeks from now when the season's over? Because I feel like there's going to be a lot of, hopscotch and leapfrogging and things like that. But let's touch on the Texans game because John and myself haven't had a chance to actually discuss. So we'll spend a little bit of time on the Texans game. Kind of, give me, John, in a couple minutes, kind of what you saw, what was frustrating, what you think they can improve on, things like that. Just give me your overall summary of the Texans game.
It was gross. From a production standpoint, to an execution standpoint, to a game plan standpoint, to decision making, I don't understand how they had such a bad plan. And going back to what D'Amico Ryans was alluding to, how you're rolling 5-man fronts against that defensive front, 5-man blocking schemes, no chips, no help. You got Alec Anderson sitting on the sideline. Bring him in. Roll out your jumbo packages. This is what you've been doing all year. And now you decide not to do it against the best pass rush that you've gone against. It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And God, it was infuriating. It's like, we're just going to run duo up the middle. We're going to throw a screen to the outside. Then we're going to run a mesh, and then we're going to punt over and over and over again. And it was infuriating. And it was exactly what I thought was going to happen in that game. I knew that defense was going to be trouble, but the plan was god awful. And James Cook was the best part of the offense, just like he was in their matchup last year. Josh had one of his worst performances of the game or of the season, just like in their matchup last year. Like, it was just copy and paste. The decision making sucked, just like it did last year from the coaches. Like, I don't understand how you go into this expecting a different result than what you had when you faced them a season ago, and you didn't. Now, on one hand, you kept it to a 4-point game when you had no business with it being a 4-point game. I mean, it looked like you should have lost by 17. Like, it looked atrocious optically. But one of those touchdowns was on a kick return. So
12 points by the offense.
12 points by the offense. Yeah, the offense didn't do a whole hell of a lot. So it was a gross game. I lost a lot of faith in this team in terms of what they can do this year. It was a game where, and we talked about this before the show started too, if you won that game in a very, very muddy AFC, where we're going to get into it, we're going to break down all the different teams and the standings and stuff like that. But if you win that game, you're 8-3, which right now would be tied with the Colts for the third best record in the AFC, and you'd have buffer between the teams under you. Now you're 7-4. There are 3 teams that are 7-4. There are 4 teams that are 6-5. By losing that game, and you lose the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Texans, by losing that game, you're just slipping into the mushy middle, and you're really in danger of not even making the playoffs, which this was a Super Bowl caliber team in the offseason and in the first 3 weeks. You might not even make the playoffs, which at this point, sign me up. This team's not going to win shit this year. Just miss the playoffs, get a better draft pick, and let's move on. Like, it's awful. Yes, Brandon Cooks is.
Yes, we did. We just touched on it. If you missed the beginning of the show, the Bills have signed Brandon Cooks, not to the practice squad. According to the reports, it's the active roster. So again, as more stuff comes out, follow Built in Buffalo. We'll have all the information for you. To me, what's frustrating, and I'll end the Texans talk on this, is the Bills defense was improved in the second half. Now, say what you want about the 20 points they gave up in the first half, because the drive before the half was inexcusable. They gave up 3 points in the second half. And how many?
Who was off the field?
Who
was off the field? Why did they improve? Terrell Bernard left the game.
I'm not speculating.
He left. He left, the defense got way better.
I'm not speculating about actually starting Shaq Lawson.
I am.
Which he is, Shaq Thompson the rest of the year. But I said it 3 weeks ago that he's the best linebacker on the Bills currently playing. The offense was just going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You can't win games like that. And I understand Josh was getting beat up. The line was getting beat up. But that's points to Brady not making adjustments. Like, you have this guy that you drafted in the 5th round because he's a blocking tight end. You have Alec Anderson, like you said, who's his snap count has just gone to nothing this year. I don't know what they're doing with him as that 6th offensive lineman. But anyways, again, the biggest thing to me, which kind of ties in like you tied it into what we're actually talking about on the show today, is you would have the head-to-head, the Bills would have the head-to-head win against the Texans, who are right behind them. Like 1 game behind, and they're in the hunt, and they're 1 game behind the Bills. And that creates a buffer, like you said, on the teams like the Steelers, who the Bills play this week, and some of the other teams that are coming up right now. The Chiefs, don't ever count them out. They're 6-5. So let's pull up. I got the graphic here. Let's pull up what it looks like 1 through 7, and we can kind of start there, and then we'll get into. John made a spreadsheet. We have all of the remaining teams that are, the 10 teams vying for those 7 spots. He's got all those schedules laid out. So here's what it looks like currently. If you would have told me after the Bills were 4-0 that this is what it was going to look like, I would have laughed at you and said you were crazy. But here we are. The Patriots are 10-2. The Broncos are 9-2, and they find ways to win games like the Chiefs did last year. They're winning games in the fourth quarter. Hey, you win games the way you win games. The Colts had somewhat of a reality check. I was watching a podcast. I don't know if it was the PFF podcast or which one it was, but it was like when it was 20-9, I feel like the Colts got big brothered by the Chiefs. I feel like they were scared. They played scared that entire second half. So the Colts are 8-3. The Ravens, here we go again. And the thing about the Ravens, the thing about the Ravens too is Lamar's not even playing good, and they're starting to win games and get healthy. We'll talk about that. The Chargers, I don't know if people believe in the Chargers. I'm not a huge believer. In the beginning of the year, I thought they looked really good. The defense looked good. Offensive line looked good. Now here we are. They've had injuries. Herbert is kind of been inconsistent lately. Jacksonville, which I know John wants to talk about Jacksonville because their schedule is atrocious. It's laughable. And then you have our Buffalo Bills right there at 7-4. So I'll ask you first, John, about this right here. I'm going to ask you pretender or contender. Let's start there, and then we'll break into some other stuff. All right, New England, pretender or contender?
Contender.
Denver, pretender or contender?
Contender, mostly because of defense.
Indianapolis, pretender or contender?
Pretender.
Baltimore, pretender or contender?
I'm going to lean contender just based on past. No, you know what? They suck in the playoffs every year. Pretender.
Hey, you know what, though? John has a good beard.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
I had to put that up there. Jacksonville, pretender or contender?
Are we talking about Super Bowl run?
I'm sorry,
or making playoffs?
We skipped the Chargers.
Super Bowl run or just playoffs?
Playoffs. Let's just do playoffs right now.
Chargers are a contender.
Jacksonville, pretender or contender? Can they overtake the Colts?
Yeah. One game back, and they play each other twice.
All right, and then the magic question. Buffalo, pretender or contender?
Pretender, missing the playoffs.
Oh, goodness.
That's how I feel. and I will explain it. We will get into this.
All right. So
yeah.
Let's just pick a team and let's kind of talk about it, and then we'll put the schedules up there. Let's pick a team. So let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens.
Sure.
Because I feel like if they get hot at the right moment, that is going to be a tough out. Yep. I do say that also realizing the fact that postseason wise, they haven't been great under Lamar Jackson. So what's your thoughts on Baltimore? Because I don't see anybody else in the AFC North that's going to compete with them. Burrow's coming back, but I feel like that's dumb. Like, I feel like you just sit him the rest of the season.
Yeah, just put him on ice, man.
And like you have to win every single game to have just barely a chance to go 9-8. Like, you're not going to make the playoffs at 9-8, I don't think. So, no. Which stinks because he's probably going to play in Buffalo here on December 5th, which is not going to be great. But, thanks a lot. And then they'll have Chase and Higgins back by then too. So,
yep.
What's your thoughts on Baltimore? Is it something that they could make a run? Because I think Lamar missed practice today. I think he's dealing with the toe injury or something. So run me down your Baltimore for real quick.
Yeah. So here's the deal on the Ravens. The AFC North sucks this year. The Bengals without Joe Burrow, they fell off a cliff. The Steelers started great. They're one of those really annoying teams where against the teams that they are supposed to beat, they suck and they lose. But against the teams that they're not supposed to beat, they play them tough and they tend to win. But they're dealing with Aaron Rodgers injuries and a lot of inconsistency and stuff like that. I just don't see the Ravens not pulling it off. They're in first place right now. They came back from the depths. What were they? 1-4?
Yeah.
And now they're 6-5.
Yeah.
And we talked about it then. I was like, the AFC North is wide open. It doesn't take a lot for the Ravens to claw their way back into this, and here they are. They're in first place. So let's talk about their schedule. This is my handy dandy spreadsheet that I made because I'm a spreadsheet nerd. So you have the teams across the top. You have the remaining weeks down the left side. Week 12 at the very top was this last week's games. Green means the team at the top of the column won. Red means the team at the top of the column lost. So the Ravens just beat the Jeffs. Yay. They got the Bengals with, potentially Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's back for that game, but I still like the Ravens to win that one. Steelers, that's a fight. Bengals again. Maybe the Bengals split. Maybe Joe Burrow gets one on them with, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and stuff like that. Patriots is tough. Packers, I feel like they can beat. Steelers, maybe they beat them twice. I don't know. It doesn't really matter for our sake necessarily because it's just for the AFC North. Like they're not, they might find themselves fighting for a wild card spot. Them and the Steelers, like one of those teams might get in as one of the wild cards. But I just think that the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson playing like crap, are still winning games, and he has to turn it around, right? Like it just has to improve. This is so far away from what we're used to seeing from him. But as soon as the weather turns cold, Derrick Henry turns into a cyborg. So you got that going for you if you're the Ravens. And the defense I still trust. Like they were really banged up on defense early in the season. They're getting healthy now. I trust that defense to make plays and come up with some takeaways. So the Ravens, I think, are a team that, they can very easily win their division. Well, not very easily, but it's within the realm of possibility that they win their division.
I mean, they do have some tough games. I mean, even if you give them the two Bengals games, they have two games against the Steelers. Those games are always a coin flip, no matter how they are in the standings. If you look at the last handful of years, it's always like they're 1-1 against each other. Like it's always one wins one wins the other. So they have to play the Patriots. They have to play the Packers. I mean, they don't have a cakewalk schedule. But if they run the gauntlet of these next three divisional games against the Bengals twice and the Steelers, I mean, they're going to be sitting at 9 and 5, and they only probably have to win maybe one of the last three games. So it's a little concerning. I mean, I think a lot of people were counting them out after they were 1-4 and Lamar was injured. I feel like a lot of people were saying, how can they come back from that? But look at the division. Obviously, Joe Burrow's been out. Browns are the Browns. I mean, Pittsburgh, I think they're hit or miss. I mean, I'm a little concerned about playing Pittsburgh this week with their defensive line and TJ Watt and stuff like that after seeing what just happened against the Texans. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. All right. So let's jump over to the Chiefs. So a lot of what Tony Romo was talking about during the game against the Colts on Sunday, I actually enjoyed what he was saying. You have to kind of take Tony Romo with a grain of salt. Like people like him, people don't like him, but when he actually gives you information that makes sense, it like you have to sit and digest it for a minute. And he was talking about like, look, this is not the same Chiefs, and everybody wants to say, well, until they prove that they're not the Chiefs. He's like, this season has proven that they're not capable of doing the things that they did last year before, winning close games, things like that. This is the first one-score game they've won all season, and you can't live life like that. And a lot of the stuff I saw happening with the Chiefs wide receivers is exactly what everybody's been talking about with the Bills. They're not getting separation. Mahomes is just getting way through it. He's progressing through his reads way too fast because he's not trusting that the guys are going to make plays. And he's not picking the right option a lot of times. And now for a guy like Patrick Mahomes, like that could be an issue if he's not trusting his offense. So what's your thoughts on the Chiefs? Obviously big win against the Colts, who had a high-powered offense. Looked like they couldn't get out of their way in the second half. I don't know why they didn't go for it on fourth and 4 from the 50-yard line. Like you got to go for it. They're a 45-yard line, whatever it was. So talk to me about the Chiefs. How do you feel about the Chiefs? They play on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys.
I feel like I just have this impending sense of doom when it comes to the Chiefs, and I just expect them to go on a late season run. The Cowboys defense is god awful. If there was ever a get right game for Mahomes and company, it's this week against the Cowboys. And if they get that swagger back, and if they put a big crooked score on the Cowboys, look out. Obviously, the Texans defense incredibly tough. That's going to be a fascinating game. Chargers, I think they can probably handle the Chargers. Titans, they'll handle that. Broncos, it'll be interesting. Raiders, they'll handle that. Like most of the teams, this is a team that can finish right in the range of 10-7. Like I would not be surprised if they go 4-2 the rest of the way and finish 10-7. I tweeted this out last week. This is such a mess. Like this is such a cluster in the AFC that like two teams probably will be 10-7 and miss the playoffs. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see that happen a lot, just based on tiebreakers and a whole
all
bunch
the
of other
conference,
garbage.
all the conference standings.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. So 10-7, you're not guaranteed to get in. And when we're talking about like the Bills' rest of the season, it's like cool. You go 4-2 the rest of the way. You're 10-7. You're probably in good shape. Or 3-3 even gets you to 10-7. You're probably in good shape. I don't know that you are. You just lost to the Texans, and if the Texans come storming up, that's a problem. But you do have the tiebreaker on the Chiefs. It's just so messy. Like it's such a cluster. Some of these teams are going to stub their toes, and that's because there are a lot of head-to-heads in here. Like if you look at the Chiefs, they've got the Chargers, they've got the Broncos, they have the Texans who are in a different division. Like it's not. There's just so many head-to-heads remaining, which is what the NFL schedule makers want of teams that are fighting for playoff spots. So the Chiefs they make me nervous that they can go on a late season run, that they turn the offense on a little bit more, that they just buckle down. They know how to win gritty games, like it just, I think they'll end up right in that 10-7 range. And then it comes down to tiebreakers.
All right, let's talk about the Patriots, because obviously that's in division. The Bills are obviously 3 behind in the win column, and then a 4th game if you count the tiebreaker, but the Bills do play them in a couple weeks. So they have the Giants coming up, and left tackle's out, right? Am I right that the Patriots starting left tackle's out?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Will Campbell.
Yeah, Will Campbell. So, and he's been playing great this year. And it's on the road in New York. Who knows what Jameis Winston's going to pull out of his sleeve? He could be the worst quarterback we've ever seen, or he could be the next coming of Brett Favre. Like, who knows what we're going to get from Jameis Winston on Sunday? But I will say that maybe those players in New York are playing for their coach that's there now, and they have nothing to lose at this point. So that's kind of when teams are deadly, because they just kind of throw whatever they can at you, however they want. And what stinks is that the Patriots get a week 14 bye.
Yeah.
I hate that, because they're going to be healthy down the home stretch, and the Bills are going to be playing them off of a bye, which I hate when the Bills play teams off of a bye.
They get the bye week and then a home game against the Bills the next week. Yeah. Like, thanks for that, schedule makers.
That's they get 2 weeks to prepare for the Bills ultimately. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the Patriots? I mean, is a lot has been said about the Patriots schedule, the percentage of team wins that they've played, and strength of schedule down the stretch, and this, that, and the other. Is Drake May going to be able to handle the pressure? And there's a lot of unproven guys on the team and all this stuff. What's your thoughts on the Patriots? Is this something where they could be the 1 seed at the end of the year? Is there a possibility?
Yes. I think
walk me through your Patriots thoughts.
I think you're looking at the 1 seed. I think that's what they are. I think that their run defense is incredible, which is very dangerous in the playoffs. Like it suits them well for that style of football. And that's Mike Vrabel. This is a tough-nosed team all of a sudden, because Mike Vrabel has completely changed the culture and the focus of what they have and what they do. And they play defense, and they have an offense that can hit the explosive plays because they have some receiver named Stephon Diggs. This is a team that I think is in the driver's seat. Obviously, they are in the record right now, but I think when you look at the remaining schedule and the style of football that they play, I think you're looking at the 1 seed at the Patriots, which is infuriating as a Bills fan. Just infuriating to watch them in 2 years go from a top 5 draft pick drafting who they hope is the quarterback of the future to the 1 seed. Like, good God. Like, we can talk about Brandon Beane another time, but to watch a team in your division do that is, oh God, it's just so painful. But yeah, the Giants, listen, they're going to be playing for their lives. Their pass rush is very good. Abdul Carter is a monster. Kayvon Thibodeau, pride of University of Oregon, go Ducks. On the other side, They got pressure all across the defensive line that they can generate, which is great. And like you said, it's going to come down to Jameis. If the Patriots defense take away the run completely and put the ball into Jameis's hands, you can pretty much bank on him throwing a turnover at some point. So yeah, I think the Patriots win that game, get a bye, home game for the Bills, where the Bills season honestly might be on the line. And I think the Bills lose. I think the Patriots defense is too tough. I think our defense is porous at best. I think that we get swept by the Patriots in our in-season series, and the Patriots go on to be the 1 seed. So then you have the Ravens, which could be tough, but then you finish with Jets, Dolphins. Like, I don't know. They might lose 1 game remaining, maybe 2 and a stretch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're looking at least 13-4 probably is what I would predict.
And you need them to drop one of those games to the Jets and Dolphins. If you're a Bills fan and you're still holding out any sort of hope for the AFC East, which I've given up on,
I have to.
If the Bills win and do their job against the Patriots in Week 15, you still need them to lose to the Ravens, or if they have lost already to the Giants, and then they need to drop a game to the Jets or Dolphins so that there's the 4-2 division record is the same in the Bills. We go through all the other tiebreakers to get to. I've
given up on the division. We're fighting for a wild card spot.
There's a lot that has to be done for the Bills help wise, which stinks because we haven't been in this position in a long time to start looking at box scores of other games to see how this would benefit the Bills, division standings, conference standings, what have you. So, all right.
Hold on 1 second. I want to pull this up real quick. Dak Prescott is 4-3 on Thanksgiving. It's not like there's some juggernaut when they play their Thanksgiving game. They're going to have a really fun halftime show. Yeah, short week at home. I get it. It is every year for the Cowboys, but it's not like they're, 6-1 and they're like, they have this incredible track record on Thanksgiving. He's 4-3.
I mean, if I've learned anything about this NFL season is that expect the unexpected. Like teams that you think, even at week 12, teams that you think are really good and should just take care of business, like they're struggling to win games. And that's why I wanted to talk about the AFC East. And John kind of agreed, saying it was a hot topic, is I don't know who the best team in the AFC is. Is it the Patriots? If it is, okay, it's painful to say, but it is what it is. Is it, was it the Colts at one point? Sure. Is it the Broncos? Possibly. But it's tough.
Well, listen, for the Patriots also, they've officially handed the ball over to TreVeyon Henderson as their lead back. He outcarried Ramondre Stevenson 18-6. So even with a healthy Ramondre Stevenson back, it's now your ultra explosive 3-down running back who is a great pass catcher that you have to worry about as an opposing defense. This isn't just a plotter in the backfield now. So that changes the dynamic dramatically. It was a great draft pick. I hated when they made it. I was like, fuck, he's going to be great in that offense. I think the Patriots, though, I think they've got the easiest schedule remaining. I think that they've got the best defense, not the best, but a very explosive ground game. Drake May's a stud. And even after you get off to a really slow start on the road in Cincinnati, he clawed his way back and they won that game. So, yeah, I think the AFC East is completely out of reach for the Bills. You're fighting for a wild card spot.
So if we're going to so we got these 10 teams on the screen here. If you had to pick 7 of them, which 7 are you picking? And then we'll kind of go into the why afterwards, because people were talking about the Jaguars. They beat the Chiefs, right? So they have a tiebreaker right there. So, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that if you like John said, if you just look down this list of the schedule, like it's all going to be based off of those 3 wildcard teams are going to be based off of conference schedule, because if there's a head-to-head, if it's interdivision, because it's coming down to, like you said, are there going to be 7 teams that are locks and then a couple other teams that are 10-7 that are on the outside looking in? So give me your 7 out of these 10 that you think are going to make the postseason.
I'm going to go in inverse because it's easier. So the three that I think are going to miss, I think the Colts miss. I think the Chargers miss and the Bills miss.
Ooh, the Bills.
Those are the three that I think miss out.
If you look at the Colts down the stretch, they do have, I mean, they have the Texans, the Jaguars.
There's not an easy game on that
the
schedule.
Seahawks, the 49ers, the Jaguars, and the Texans. So they would have to go 3-3 to be at 11, which I think is the magic number to guarantee, right? Yep. So they would have to go 3-3. And even if they can figure out how, I mean, they have the number one offense in the NFL. So they may be able to do something against the Texans. But then you got the Jaguars twice, the Seahawks, who are really good, and then you have the 49ers, who are always good, regardless of whoever's on the field. So I see that one. So you had the Colts. Who was the other one? The Chargers?
Yeah.
So the Chargers have the Raiders, which I think they can handle the Raiders. And then they have the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Broncos. So you might be right on that. I mean, I see 1, possibly 2, and that puts them at 9-8. And then you have the Bills, who have the Steelers on Sunday, the Bengals, the Patriots, the Browns, the Eagles, and Jets. How many wins do you see for the Bills in the last 6 games? Honestly,
well, let me put it to you this way: over the last 7 weeks, the Bills have a losing record. They're 3-4.
Right.
They can't stop anything on the ground. Their defense is suspect on the outside. Their wide receivers can't separate. Their play calling sucks. They're like, it's run down the list. I think that they get 3 wins the rest of the way. I think you go 3-3. You're at 10-17 and you miss on tiebreakers. That's the way that I see it playing out. I think this, and listen, when you talk about defenses too, and like we just watched what the Houston defensive front can do to anybody, but especially to the Bills. Now look at the defensive fronts you have to go against. The Steelers, that's not super easy. The Patriots, the Browns, I don't care about the Browns' record. Myles Garrett and that defensive front is enough for that to be a big upset game. Like it is. The way that this offense is playing right now, that makes me nervous. They also have a rookie running back in 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐿, who could go for 120 yards against us. Like, I know it's the Browns. I get it. And it would be a painful, painful loss. But that's not some gimme. Like, the style of ball that the Browns play fits against the Bills really well. Even though their record sucks, even though they're shuffling their quarterbacks right now, it at least makes me nervous. Like, I'm not just going, oh, that's a dub. Like, count that one. You know what I mean? I'm not ruling that out. So if you drop one to the Patriots, you drop one to the Eagles, you only have to lose one more game in there. It could be this Sunday against the Steelers. Maybe the Bengals pull an upset because you have healthy Joe Burrow and those wide receivers back. Maybe the Browns pull an upset. Like, it looks to me like a 10-7 record the rest of the way. If you lose to the Steelers this weekend, you have an uphill climb.
Panic
gets
mode.
Very tough. Yep. If you lose to the Steelers this weekend and you fall to 7-5, let's say that the Ravens beat the Bengals, they're 7-5. The Chiefs beat the Cowboys, they're 7-5. Jaguars beat the Titans, they're 8-4. Chargers beat the Raiders, they're 8-4. Colts lose to the Texans, they're 8-4. Texans beat the Colts, they're 7-5. Steelers 7-5. You see what I'm saying? Like, all of a sudden, if you lose this one to the Steelers, this gets really, really, really rough.
Yeah.
You are then in the same pack with the other teams.
Yeah, the tiebreaker against the Chiefs, though.
Which is good. That's great.
I mean,
and that's a good thing. That really
trying
is.
to find some positives here.
It could come down to that. But if you drop this one to the Steelers, you are in like the same exact row as a bunch of teams, and you need help.
So 4-2. So I think 4-2 obviously would get it done. And I have seen all this stuff online about how the Bills are 14-1 in the month of December. I'm not talking about January. In the month of December, they've won 14 of the last 15 games. And has this season taught you anything about the streaks seem to be just they're just going to the wayside. Like all the streaks about, Josh Allen on Thursday nights and the primetime record and the winning the turnover battle and all this stuff. Like, I feel like this is just an oddball season where you can't rely on what happened the last 3 seasons. You just can't. This is a different team. The NFL has been week to week, and as inconsistent as the Bills have played the last 7 games, I don't know what to expect Sunday. If it's going to be an offensive showcase like they did against Kansas City and Tampa, or if it's going to be a slugfest where they're fighting for 5 yards. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I think they definitely have to go 4-2. And I think that there's 2 games. If you're looking at the Patriots might be playing to just put the foot on the throat in week 15, coming off a bye. They're gonna solidify their stamp on the AFC East, potentially make some distance on the number 1 seed in the AFC. And then you play Shedeur Sanders, you play the Eagles, and then you play the Jets in the last game at Highmark. So I don't know. We were talking for so long about how those red helmets were going to be played in a game that was going to be meaningless, and Josh Allen was going to get 1 snap to continue his streak. They may be playing for their playoff lives in Week 18 wearing the throwback red helmets. So I don't know. Is there anything else, John, you want to touch on? Like, I don't know. I just know this has been a hot topic. I don't know if there's one team that I could say is a powerhouse. Like the NFC, I feel like is much more dominant than the AFC is this year. I don't look at one team and say, I don't feel like they're going to lose another game, or, I feel like they could make a run, and they're playing really good football. I mean, the Patriots didn't look great against the Bengals. That Bengals defense, I mean, some other teams in there too didn't look great. So I think it's a week to week thing, and I guess maybe in a couple weeks we'll revisit this and kind of see, who's strung some wins together and who's tried to figure out their identity. Because honestly, I think a few of these teams don't even know what their identity is, and we're entering week 13. I know the Bills don't. I don't know what the identity of Buffalo Bills are. I don't know what the identity of the Kansas City Chiefs are, or the Baltimore Ravens.
I'll tell you the identity of the Buffalo Bills. It's save us Josh Allen. And if he can't, they lose. Like that's the way that it's going right now. You know what?
We didn't have to worry all year about Josh Allen getting beat up. It's almost reminiscent of 2018, 2019, when the Bills had absolutely horrible offensive line play minus maybe Deion Dawkins, and he was running around just to get a pass off after a snap. And we are very fortunate. I don't know what Josh Allen's bone structure is made out of, if he's like a Wolverine, or like what he's made out of, if but dude, he got hit so many times against the Texans.
Well, I can't
believe he didn't get injured. I
can't either.
I'm concerned. I'm honestly concerned that he's going to get injured.
I am too. Let's go back to the decision making in that game real quick before we leave. You have Spencer Brown clearly on like one leg out there. He was so hobbled in that game. He was getting just torched around the edge. Not only did you not pull him from the game, you didn't give him any help. Like, you just left him on an island against a defensive front that was eating them alive. The decision making, the coaching, like that's the part where it's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, I just don't understand that. And if you run into that again, if the Pittsburgh front comes after, like, listen, we go back to the offensive showcases that they were able to put up against Kansas City and Tampa Bay, right? Those aren't ferocious defensive fronts.
Right.
Like, they're not. You're going to play good defensive fronts the rest of the way. Are you going to be able to put up an offensive showcase against that, where Josh doesn't have any time to throw and you don't have anyone that can separate? Like, maybe James Cook is your savior and he still put up a great game against the Texans. But yeah, man, I don't see it right now. And it's really, really disappointing. The amount of pressures and sacks in that Texans game, the most of his career. And I know Spencer Brown was banged up for part of it, but Dion was getting beat. They were getting beat on the inside against Torrance. Like, they were just losing battles all over the field. Steelers have a good front. Patriots have a good front. Browns have a great front. Eagles have a good front. That's 4 tough defensive fronts right there. If they lose those 4 games, you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, you're not. If they lose only 3 of those games, you might not make the playoffs. Like you said, I think the minimum, you have to go 4-2.
Yeah.
Handle your business against the Browns and the Jets. Like, you can't lose those games. Handle your business against those 2. Pull off 2 other wins, probably Steelers and Bengals, and you can probably get in, maybe. But tiebreakers are going to be a huge part of it. Like, I tweeted this out. I think I started the show by saying it. There's going to be like 2 10-7 teams that miss the playoffs. And that's exactly the way it's shaping up when you look at the board, when you look at the records.
And what's frustrating, and I don't want to harp on this stuff, is the games that the Bills lost. You got blown out by the Dolphins. You lost by 2 scores to the Falcons. Like, you were in the game and you had no business being in the game against the Patriots. You were right there. Like, you had a chance in that game, but you got predictable offensively. Like, the Bills defense did what they could in that second half to try to keep that team in the game, and you got predictable offensively, and they knew what you were doing. Like, they said, okay, we're going to drop 8 in coverage and just rush 3. Maybe we'll rush 4 once in a while. And Josh, you have nowhere to throw the ball. And that's what these teams are going to do to the Bills. And that's what's so frustrating is we're right back to talking about, like, I posted something yesterday on X about Ken Dorsey. This is right about the same time, a year into November of the second season was when Ken Dorsey was fired. We're at November of the second season with Joe Brady. And it's getting frustrating. And we're talking about the offensive coordinator. It hasn't been just now, but it's like, you have to see what's being talked about you around the league. You have to see that DBs are coming out and saying, we knew their routes. We knew what they were going to run. And there was nowhere for him to throw the ball. So if he needs 4 seconds to throw the ball, he's going to get pressured in 3, and we're going to make him throw it away or get sacked. And I don't have any, to me, looking at it schedule-wise, if we're going to tie it back into what we're talking about, I don't have the trust that week to week to week to week, depending on who you're playing, if it's a strong run defense or a strong pass rush, that Joe Brady can adapt week by week by week by week. Like, we were all head over heels after the Panthers game. We knew that the Panthers had a really bad run defense, and James Cook had over 200 yards. We knew that the Chiefs didn't have a good secondary, so Josh was able to do what he wanted, and it looked great. And we're like, oh man, this is like, holy cow, he finally gets it. Like, run heavy one week, pass heavy another week, a little bit of James Cook sprinkled in, throwing the ball to the running backs. What are we doing? Well, whose offense is this? And then now we just, in the 4 losses, it just, the Bills' offense just looks just bad. And when you have Josh Allen, I know he covers up a lot of warts, but when you have Josh Allen, your offense shouldn't look as bad as it did against the Texans. I mean, you said it. They scored 12 points because one of the touchdowns was a kickoff return. They had how many 3-and-outs in the second half? That just can't happen. And I feel like there's something going on within that building offensively on the offensive side of the ball that is not being spoken about in the public, because those guys just don't look like they're interested in what's happening. And I'm not saying that they're not competitors and they want to win. And Josh just, so he's okay with losing in these guys. But watching Deion Dawkins stop blocking on several plays against the Texans because either he was just exhausted from being beat all night, or he was just like, okay, this is not working. What we're doing is not working. Seeing Josh Allen on the sideline literally saying, what are we doing, when you're getting the calls from the guy in your helmet? Like, I hope it's not the case. And I hope that there isn't a situation where that locker room is, we've talked about the culture in Buffalo for so long. And I just hope that it's not, the locker room has been lost, even if it's just the offensive side. So I don't know. But anything else about the AFC before we get out of here? A couple days before Thanksgiving, John's going to get some sandbags and board up the house for the winter storm that he's got coming.
Yeah, could be blizzard-like conditions Wednesday into Thursday, which is super fun. Luckily, we're not going anywhere. Last thoughts. It's wide open. It's stressful. It's exciting. It kind of sucks. It's kind of awesome. Win, lose, or draw. Just go Bills. I guess you got to win this one. You got to win against the Steelers.
I do want to ask you before we go real quick. If the Bills don't make the playoffs, does somebody get fired?
Yeah.
You think Pegula would do it?
I think it's going to be Joe Brady. I don't think he's going to get rid of McDermott. I think Brady's going to be the sacrificial lamb, and we run back the same front office because of Pegula. They should clean house, but I don't think Pegula is going to.
Interesting. And then we need to start looking at offensive coordinators. I think we're looking at an offensive coordinator regardless, because either Joe Brady's going to take a college gig, or I feel like he's going to be the scapegoat, and it's going to be like, we need a change, and this is going to change, and then we got to change the whole offensive philosophy, which means they have to change a whole bunch of personnel, which is going to be a whole nother topic because we have no money, and we have to trust Brandon Beane to draft well and sign free agents at a reasonable price. And that's a whole nother show that we could talk about. And I really don't want to, because I don't want to be upset about the Thanksgiving. So, all right. So that's it for John and myself for this week's 1st and 5 on Tuesdays. You can catch us every Tuesday. We'll be right back here next week, 4:30 p.m. I hope that everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Spend time with your family and your loved ones.
And root for the Cowboys.
Root for the Cowboys.
Yep.
Make sure to reach out to people that may be spending Thanksgiving alone, may just need a phone call, or if you want to just touch base with some friends and just see how they're doing. I know that I'm not going to speak for John, but I know that personally that means a lot if you just reach out to somebody, or someone reaches out to me just to check in, say how you're doing. I thought of you. It's Thanksgiving. Want to see how you're doing. That's important to me, and I know that's important to John. So we'll talk to you guys next week. I'll see you back here possibly tomorrow, if not on Friday. You guys have a good one. Go Bills.